All right, guys, this test here is pretty big, and so I'm going to do multiple recordings for the review for the test. So this particular one is called Exam 3 Review Cash and Receivables. There's only a few problems on it. Obviously, it's very best to try and do it on your own, right? Try to do it first on your own, and then either find the solutions, which I think the solutions are posted somewhere, or you can just skip through this video to the end and you'll be able to see where I've written the answer. So I'll circle them. Okay, so let's go for it. All right, so this first one, the allowance for bad debts account has a credit balance of $1,000 before the adjusting entry for bad debt expense. Okay, so just think, basically what we're doing is looking at this problem from a perspective of allowance for bad debts account. Okay, so we're looking at it from this account. So we'd start with $1,000 balance. Okay, and then what is going to increase this account is if we have additional bad debts and then we need to record bad debt expense. What will reduce it is if we write any accounts off. So let's see. Okay, so I'm just going through, but I better read down that. So the company management estimates that 3% of accounts receivable will be uncollectible for the year 2019. Okay, so this here, that's going to be on the right side of the equation. That's going to be our ending balance. And so the way these problems work is we're going to calculate this ending balance. In fact, let's just do it real quick. So 0.03, we're going to multiply that by the accounts receivable. So 560,000. Okay, so this number here is going to go on the right side of the equation. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up something so I can do the math. So that gives us, just make sure that's good. Yeah, okay. So 16,800. Okay, so that goes on this side of the equation. This is the number that we need to get to. And you'll see we kind of have to plug a number to get there. Okay, so we have our beginning balance here. And then we're going to subtract any bad debts written off. The logic behind that is when we write off bad debts, we reduce our accounts receivable. So you credit accounts receivable, and then you debit the allowance account. So you're reducing the allowance account. The allowance account has a normal credit balance. Actually, it says it here, right? Has a credit balance. So when you write off bad debts, you reduce accounts receivable and reduce the allowance account. So it says that $12,000 in bad debts were written off. So we need to subtract that. So 1,000 minus 12,000, okay? Plus bad debt expense. So I'll just abbreviate that. Bad debt expense. And then give us our ending balance, which we know that number has to be 16,800. Okay, and that's what we're solving for. If you look at this, it says what amount of bad debt expense is to be reported in the income statement. Okay, so basically we would be at negative 11,000, right? This and this, that out. Okay, plus X equals 16,800. Therefore, we know this needs to be a big number, right? So go 16,800 plus 11,000. So 27,800, right? So negative 11,000 plus 27,800 will give us the 16,800. And so that is our answer, 27,800. Okay. Just 1 second. Okay, let's do the next one now. So this one is a bank reconciliation. Okay, so textbooks may show like a real formal way of this, but honestly, I just end up putting down bank So that's the bank balance based on the bank statement. And then we have book. And this is the balance of our cash account based on what we have recorded for journal entries and stuff like that. And so the logic behind this is the two are different, but they're only different because of temporary differences. So the bank may know about some things that we don't know about yet. I mean, we'll know about them as soon as we see the bank statement. And the bank may not know, so the book may not know about some things that the bank knows about, and the bank may not know about some things about the book. Okay, does that make sense? So you just got to go through this. Okay, so deposits of 5,600 in transit. Okay, so we know about those because we're the ones that make the deposit in our bank account, right? We deposit money in it, but it's in transit, therefore the bank doesn't know about it. And typically what that means is maybe we stop by the bank after hours and deposited the money in an after hour drop box or something else, like for whatever reason the deposit just hasn't went through yet. So because the bank doesn't know about it, we need to make the change to the bank. Now normally you start with the balance of each. So let me go look for that real quick. Here we go. The book balance is 6,400. Let's see where the bank balance is. Bank balance. There we go. So 17. So I would normally do that very first. Get your balances. Okay. So did you see that? So bank balance 17,410 and book balance 6,400. So you can see they're quite a bit different, right? But we just added deposits in transit. Okay, next thing, outstanding checks. Okay, so we're the business, we wrote checks out to various people, and for whatever reason those people haven't cashed their checks yet. Okay, so we know about this because we wrote the checks, but our bank doesn't know because the checks haven't been cashed. So we need to subtract 1,000. Okay, so we got that, we got that, we got that. Okay, here we go. So next one, bookkeeper recorded $1,800 check as 17,200 in payment of the current month's rent. Okay, so who made the error? We made the error, right? The bookkeeper made the error. It's a huge error. I don't know how they made this mistake. But basically with errors, you have to make the adjustment to the one who made the mistake. So in this case, we're gonna make an adjustment over here to the book because that's where the mistake was made. So we recorded $1,800 check as 17,200. Okay, so we need to make an adjustment for the difference. So 17,200 is the error, and it was supposed to be 1,800. Okay, so that difference there is going to need to go to the book. 17,200 minus 1,800, so 15,400. And the bookkeeper, they recorded it for way too much, right? So our book, they recorded that we spent 17,200. Really, we should have only spent 1,800. So we need to add that back. Okay. So you always make the adjustment for the difference between the error and the correct amount. And then if they would have recorded that we received that money, then obviously we'd subtract it off down here. But since they recorded that we spent that money, we need to add it back. Okay. And then we need to figure out why they would record it wrong. Like, okay. So there's a bank balance. Okay. Now a deposit of $400 was credited by the bank for $4,000. Okay. So now this is the bank that screwed up here. So we deposited $400 and they made a mistake and instead deposited $4,000. Okay. The bank always gets their money back. Just be aware of that. So go 4,000, 400, 3,600 is the difference. And the bank made the error, so we need to make the adjustment over here, the bank, and they recorded way too much, so we need to subtract $3,600. Okay. And then a customer's check for $3,300 was returned for non-sufficient funds. Okay, so we received this check from someone, right, from a customer. They paid us $3,300. So over here in our book, we thought like, sweet, we received money, but we didn't, right? Because they really didn't have the money to write the check. And so the bank knew about that. The bank is the one that tells you like, hey, sorry, this person really didn't have the money. So we had already recorded it. So now we need to remove it from our books. So put it in as a negative number. Okay. And then on top of that, the bank charged us money, which that sucks, right? Even though it wasn't our fault, it was the customer's fault, but they also charged the bank charges money. So we know, I mean, the bank knows about it. They're the ones that charged us. We didn't know about it until we receive notice from them. So that's also going to reduce down our balance. So now we've gone through everything, right? That's all of the bullets. So now it's the moment of truth. But the nice thing about these problems is you can find out if you did it right. Just type all that into your calculator. And what we hope is that it balances 6400. Reconciles. The same thing, right? 15400. So here we go, the moment of truth. 18,410. 18,410. Sweet. So 18,410. Okay. So if it doesn't balance, go back through real slow and think through every one of these and say to yourself, okay, who knows about this? If the bank knows about it, then the book needs to make the adjustment. If the book knows about it, then the bank needs to make the adjustment, or whoever made the error, that's where the adjustment answer. Okay. All right, last one. Company invests in a 90-day 6% note costing $8,000 on December 1st. Prepare all necessary journal entries for the investment, year-end adjusting entry, and receipt of payment. Okay. So basically what's happening here is we have extra cash. We don't want it to just set in a checking account. We want to earn interest on it. And so cash is going out the door, right? We're using that to invest. In return, we're receiving a note receivable of 8,000. So that's the initial journal entry. Okay. Then at year end, we need to do an adjusting entry. This isn't with an outside party, this adjusting entry. All this entry is doing is showing that we've earned some interest, even though we haven't collected any interest. Okay, so we have interest revenue, right? That's the concept of earning. And then we haven't been paid yet. So we'd have interest receivable. Okay, so they're going to pay us interest in the future. We just haven't received it yet. Okay, and then we just need to do the math. Okay, remember the interest rates are always stated in annual terms. So just go 0.06 divided by 12. That'll convert it into a monthly interest rate and then the number of months that went by. So we did this on December 1st, so really just 1 month. But if it was on some other, if it was on October 1st or September 1st or whatever, you do months until the end of the year. We're just going to December 31st, right? 1 month. And then we multiply that by the principal, 8,000, and that'll give us how much interest we've earned in our first month. So divided by 12, times 1, which is just same thing, times 8,000. Gives us $40. $40 in interest. And then the next thing we need to do is when they actually pay us. So when they pay us, they're going to pay us cash. We're no longer going to have a note receivable. See, I'm just kind of reversing all this stuff. We're going to no longer have interest receivable. They're paying us. And we are going to have some more interest revenue, right? Because it's 90 days. So think of that. That's just 3 months. Okay, we just convert that into 3 months. So we will have some interest revenue for the month of January and February, right? So your 3 months are December, January, February. That's 90 days. Okay, so that's all of the debits and credits. Now we just need to calculate the amount. Let's do the easy parts first. Okay, so 8,000. That's how much we invested. So now it's no longer going to be a receivable. Interest receivable was 40. Interest revenue, we need to do the calculation. So it's really just this calculation here again, but now we're multiplying it by 2 months because 2 months have went by. So my calculation, obviously 80, didn't need to calculate. So that's going to be our interest revenue. Okay. Receivable, that's the principal. Interest receivable, that was for December. Interest revenue. Interest revenue is for interest revenue is just for January, February. This is that total amount. So 40 plus 80 is 120. 8,000 is how much cash we receive. Okay, and that's the answer. So right there, well, really, it's all of this, right? It's these 3 journal entries. So make sure and do all 3 journal entries on the test. Okay, thank you for watching. So you have D, you have 18,410, and then you have those 3 answers there. So have a good one.